Alright, YouTube. Turtleneck time. Actually, I'm wearing a turtleneck because of work, because it was cold as shit. And I have a t-shirt for work, so I'm just gonna put that shirt over this. It's just cold and it's rainy today, so it's just chilly. Probably the first time I've worn a turtleneck, rather, in two years. I think the last time I wore a turtleneck was actually the last time I recorded a video wearing a turtleneck. So yeah. My home state, Indiana, and I never thought, I was going to make a video pertaining to drugs for 2 days in a row. My home state, Indiana, basically received $950,000 to combat drugs. I can't remember the agency, but they are basically fucking throwing millions of dollars all over the place to different state police departments. So here's the thing. Like Ohio, in the north, up here, we have a terrible heroin problem. Like the south, in the southern half, they have a horrible meth problem. Apparently we're ranked #1 for meth labs. I think maybe by frequency of them getting busted, but they're going to probably buy new equipment with this. They're probably going to buy new types of tools and weapons. But here's my thoughts on it. They're going to purchase 3 $20,000 drug scanners. These things basically allow you to scan a substance and tell if it's laced or not. It uses basically some laser technology. So if they find on a crime scene a nug of marijuana and they scan it and it has speed in it, And that's the shitty part too, because what if someone was sold a drug that was laced but they didn't know it was laced? Well, now they're going to jail for, not 1, but 2 drugs. But here's the thing. From 1970 to 2016, the rate of drug abuse and drug addiction, it has stayed relatively the same. It just goes like this. But the tax money they allocate to fight this goes way up here. I think last year they used, I want to say like $5 billion for a drug war. The drug war's stupid as fuck anyway. You're wasting police's time. These are victimless crimes. The people aren't dying because they're taking heroin. The people are dying because they're buying it from a shitty dealer who keeps putting other shit in it to increase the volume. It's kind of like, how people put water into acid, LSD, to increase the volume. People put crushed up Tylenol and cocaine to increase the volume. The really only thing you can't do that with is marijuana. And the same thing goes for meth, and even if it did do these things, it's their choice. Life is about making choices. Is it brash? I don't know. I'm not the one putting drugs into my system. Look, I'll say it like this. The only person who should be responsible and have the authority to decide what type of substances goes into their bodies is that individual. That's not the government's job, because what the government's doing is being the nanny state and telling you, basically you're not responsible or, goddamn. we can't trust you with this. Now, a lot of my viewers probably know already my views on drugs, my views on the drug war. And while I don't take drugs anymore, and while I don't like the drug war, you know, I still will stand up and say this, even if it warrants or unfairly warrants a bunch of people going, well, you're probably the biggest meth user in town. No, I'm gonna call something I think is bullshit. And it's not even really Indiana's fault. It's not the Indiana State Police's fault. It's no one's fault but the government. There is no fucking reason for them to be outlawing substances like this. I don't care if it causes them tremendous harm. They're responsible enough in their own right to decide whether or not they're going to take it. The most you can do is educate someone about the harmful effects. And that's the funny thing. I'm sure a lot of these people who abuse these substances, they've had the health class. And I'm sure a bunch of these people who haven't abused these substances, they've taken the health class too. So they decide whether or not they're going to weigh the risks out. So really, with or without it being illegal, people are still going to do it. But I want to end with a closing statement. When I was 15, I got 15. I got incredibly addicted to subopiates, basically painkillers. Not to the point where I was having withdrawals. But I'm sure if I continued, it would have gotten to that point. And when I was caught, my fear of my life being ruined wasn't because of me taking drugs. My fear of my life potentially being ruined stemmed from the fact that they were going to take me to court, yank a bunch of money out of my parents, lawyer expenses, word going around school, things like that. Because a heroin addict knows that they might potentially ruin their life if they're doing heroin, but that alone probably wouldn't ruin their life. What ruins these adult addicts' life is when you charge them, throw them in prison, don't give them treatment, they have a felony on their record so they can't get a job, so they don't have the money to go to rehab or seek treatment, and then they end up redosing again, and then you arrest them again. Or they end up overdosing and dying. So that's it, YouTube. Peace out.